cold as a razor blade.
Another episode of The Snake Pit, and this week we are doing something really fun. As many of you know, I run multiple YouTube channels, and the other channel that I have is Golden Era Network, which is where my podcast with Ted DiBiase, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and now Bushwhacker Luke live. And I thought this might be a good way to introduce this audience, the audio Snake Pit audience, to what I'm doing over there with Bushwhacker Luke. Now, this is a YouTube exclusive podcast, and I wanted to kind of give you guys a little sample of it. This is going to be probably the only time that I use one of these episodes to fill in on the Snake Pit. But I'm hoping that it's going to get you guys to go over and check out that YouTube channel. What I'm trying to do is curate some of the best stories of the Golden Era with the stars of the Golden Era. You know, I'm fortunate enough to have podcasts with guys like Jake, Ted DiBiase, Jim Duggan, and now Bushwhacker Luke. And all these incredible stories that I get to hear from these guys that lived in our favorite era of professional wrestling. So this is a Bushwhacker Mailbag where Luke is answering fan questions. Luke is such a great storyteller. He's got so many stories, and his memory is unbelievable. Just being on the phone with him, I think I said it here on the podcast with Jake before, just being on the phone with Luke, I'm like, I need to start recording just our phone conversations. Everything he says is interesting and entertaining. And this podcast is no exception. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. Please do me a favor. If you do enjoy it, get over to youtube.com/@Golden Era Network. Go ahead and get subscribed because this is just the tip of the iceberg on what I'm planning on doing over there. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode of Bushwhacked with Bushwhacker Luke. And we'll see you next time right here on The Snake Pit. Before we get into these fan questions, I did want to bring up something that you and I have talked about a little bit on the phone, but we still haven't had the opportunity to talk about it, obviously, on a recording. And that is the unfortunate passing of your friend, Hulk Hogan. I know that you were there at his funeral. I was wondering if you had anything you'd like to say about it.
That was just a shock, not only to me, but a lot of his friends. You know, one minute you see him, he was okay. He kept putting up a great he was going through such pain and all that stuff, but he was in public. He showed that he was still going on and surviving good. He looked good, up to a month beforehand. And he was talking, coming down to the bar on a Monday night to do his at the hangout to do his karaoke and with his son. And no one would think that a month later, the great legend Hulk Hogan was dead. It was a shock to everybody.
Man, really sad and unfortunate. I know that you were friends with him, and I know that you attended the funeral. What can you tell us about being there for Hulk Hogan's funeral?
Well, I was at the back, mate, because it was very sad. For 2 weeks, I couldn't stop bloody howling. I'd come up and that and different times together, and that it was very sad. Everybody was at the funeral, even Vince McMahon. He was behind the curtains, though, behind the stage, and that he came out and made a speech. Went out behind the curtains. I guess he didn't want to be in front of the people because he's very controversial at the moment. Everybody, there's a love-hate thing going on for him.
That's for sure. Did you get to communicate with Vince at all, or was he just there and gone?
No, I was at the back. It was a big church, and I was at the back, in the back row, or near the back row, and that, and I didn't. And then when it was over, it was a beautiful sermon, a beautiful thing. Quite a few people spoke, and that, and then when they came out into the lobby and went to the foyer, before they went out the back to where they had the food and everything, I was in the foyer, and I just met a few people, like people that I knew well, like DDP, and a few people from Tampa Bay, and RVD, and a few other people, local people that I knew, but I didn't want to go. There was everybody there, and that, and I was crying, mate. Sam is like a man of my age, but I couldn't. Every time I spoke to somebody, it was just so sad that I just kept in the corner, and then I never went in the back where the food was. Jimmy Hart had a room to himself, and he called me in there, and that's where I was. And later on, Jerry came in. Jerry Lawler had come down for the funeral from Memphis, and we spoke for a minute. And it's sad about Jerry too, because Jerry has a condo in Fort Myers. He picked up a rental car, went down to Fort Myers, and then he had another stroke, a bad stroke this time.
Oh man, that is horrible. Yeah, I did just hear that news about Jerry. I have heard that he's on the mend, but yeah, he's had his fair
Yeah,
share of health issues.
Jimmy went, drove up to Memphis and spent a week with him. And then he says this was the worst he's ever seen him.
Boy, it's been a tough year for Jimmy Hart. I know he was close with Hulk, obviously close with Jerry Lawler, and
Yeah,
certainly
they both
prayers.
started, you know, Jimmy started with Jerry in Memphis in 19, and I think it was 72 or 71.
Yes, yeah, that's where their early days in the business, both of them. So, man, prayers for Jerry Lawler, prayers for the family of Hulk Hogan and the friends of
Yes.
Hulk Hogan. I know that this has been a difficult time for you.
And I had an event at the restaurant, Panfilo's Beach Bar and Grill, 2 days later, in remembrance of Hulk. I had his friends I had a gym above Hulk's shop for 10 years. And the people, he came to the gym 5 days a week. And the people from North Beach, that's North Clearwater Beach, he'd play, he'd joke with them all, and sometimes he'd work out with other guys, get them to work out with him. So I invited all those people that knew him, and then I invited the hub, the close people that went to Hogan's Hangout every week when he was there. I invited those people down to Panfilos. We had about 70 people there. And I had the first match, the guy that had the first match with Terry, 1977. Terry's first match was in Fort Myers, and it was against Brian Blair, the
Ah,
B. He was in WWE at the start. Him and Jim Brunzell.
yes.
Yeah, that. And he talked about the first match that him and Terry had.
Now, you mentioned it. You had a bit of a heart episode yourself. How is your health nowadays? You doing okay?
No, okay. I just was pushing myself on the road, doing weekends, rushing from one show in one city to another city. And then I rushed to Cauliflower Alley to do 3 days there and that. And then I got back here and I went straight to the restaurant the night I arrived back, and I go there from 9 to 3, every 9 to 3 to 3:30. That's 9 p.m. at night to 3:30, and I was there, and all of a sudden my health went right down. I had
My
to
good.
slow down a bit, mate.
Yeah, I'm thinking so. Maybe a few less
At
bookings.
78, I'm running like a 25-year-old.
It's good that you're still so desirable. People want to keep booking you, but yeah, maybe it's time to dial it back a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
but my ticker hasn't been 50% is a good ticker. My ticker's been around 40% for about 2 years, and that when they put stents in and now it went down to 30%, and that's when they took me in, and I went to the hospital, but I've got to back up a bit. Thank the Lord.
Yes, sir. And I'm thankful that you're on the mend, feeling better, and
Yeah,
eh,
I'm going on a course to strengthen the heart.
and you're still. That's not to say, by the way, that you're not still out there making the towns. You've got some big stuff coming up here. I
Oh
know.
yeah, last weekend I made a town. I'm still going to slow down though. I'm not in the weekend. I'm not going to do two towns where I have to rush from one to another. I'm just going to do one town in a weekend.
I think that that's probably the best way. I know that Jim Duggan was just saying on our podcast that he's ready to start slowing down a bit himself. But I did want to let your fans know that coming up here pretty quick, you're going to be in Peru, Illinois, October 11th, as
Yeah,
part of Dreamwave Wrestling Trick or Treat. So October 11th, if you're in Peru, Illinois, the surrounding area, get out there to see Bushwhacker Luke.
yeah. That's a great company, Dreamwave. I worked for them a few times, and I'm looking forward to being back up in Illinois and working for them.
A lot of fans in Illinois, so make sure that you
A
guys
lot
get
of
over there.
fans in Illinois. It was a great wrestling state. Got a lot of stories in Illinois. In Illinois.
I'm hoping that we're going to get all of your stories out here on the show, and we're going to be starting with some of the stories here that your fans wrote in and asked for here for our debut episode. And we're starting out with quite a good question. This one is from, I guess the name is Gold Gopher. This person asked, you wrestled the New Rockers in Madison Square Garden on the night that the curtain call happened. What did you think of the Click breaking kayfabe that night? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. And I was out there watching that. And they went out to the ring with Hunter. Hunter was green then.
Mhm.
He just started with WWE, and they went out and that they all shook hands and hugged just after fighting each other. It was too much. I remember Jerry was going to go out there and fucking beat up one.
Jerry Briscoe.
Or when they came back to the dressing room, Jerry was he's old school. You know what I mean? Even though he's a good guy, he's old school, and I am too in a way. You know what I mean? The kayfabe thing that got me when I started seeing guys work with each other in the ring, work with each other in the ring, and next minute on Facebook in a restaurant straight after the match, drinking and eating with each other. You know, at the start, it's like I come from hard school. And I remember guys back in my day, yeah, like Ray Stevens, they would pull you into the toilet in the dressing room and give you a good whacker in the head, an open face whack, tell you to straighten up and and look after the business.
Were you pissed off when it happened?
Well, yeah, I was a bit pissed off too.
Mm.
But times had started already changing then. You know what I mean? The internet had changed a lot of the guys, and it was everywhere. Especially independent shows too, all over the place. They were the first to go online together and been partying together. But when you see in the number one arena in the world, MSG, Madison Square Garden, and the top stars doing it in front of everyone, in front of the millions and millions watching on television. Hey, it was too much, mate.
And Hunter got all the heat. Nash and Hall left, and
Well, he
Shawn was the
kind of got
champion.
too much, mate. He kind of got too much heat because he's married to the boss's daughter.
Yeah, I guess everything turned out okay for Hunter.
3 years later, he's bloody well dating, and then 4 years, I think, he's marrying the daughter. What the
And
hell?
and world champion, so he did all right. He did
He
okay.
did all right, yeah. He may have done the right thing to put himself in the limelight there.
Maybe that was it. You've gotta take a
Yeah,
big risk.
because the other guys were the main. He was only in the middle of the card,
Mhm.
earlier on, and all of a sudden he's with the main guys. He was in the clique anyhow. That was the clique.
Yeah, I think that helped. Now, I know that a lot of guys behind the scenes had a lot of resentment for the click. Did you get along with those guys okay?
Yeah, I didn't even notice it. It's like, but when I left and started '97, what year was that? '96.
96, yes, sir.
Yeah, I left to start '97. That's when they started having separate dressing rooms. The Undertaker and Yokozuna had their clique, or their clan, and then the other one was the clique, and they had signs on the dressing door, the clique, and then the other one had a sign on the door too, whatever they call themselves.
BTK.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What was it again?
BTK, the
And what
Bone
was that
Thug Crew.
for?
I think they were the Bone Thug Crew, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unbelievable. That's when they started getting separations and there was heat between the boys then. You know what I mean?
A weird
Even though
time
they
in the
were working
business.
against each other, there was there's a bit of friction there. I heard that.
Definitely a strange time in the business. Interesting that you were there for it too. I think a lot of fans, when they think of you and your career, they think back to, the golden era of wrestling when Hulk Hogan was there and
You
Jake
know,
Roberts. But
that's a classic era, mate. Before the Attitude Era, that was changing into the Attitude Era then, and we were in the classic era.
yes, sir. Next up, we've got Sandalfon Frostburn, who asks, Luke, I remember when you and Butch were called the Sheep Herders and the memorable run down in Mid South. What are your memories from Mid South?
Oh, Mid South. That was well, you can call Jerry Jarrett's territory. What do you call that? Was that Mid South, or you're talking about Bill Watts' territory?
He's talking about Bill Watts' territory. Most
Yeah,
people say,
that run was with the Fantastics. We
yes,
had two runs, one run back to back. We were the fabulous ones, and we just had continuous sellouts there. And then we went to Bill Watts, and the same thing. Against the two little guys with big hearts, Bobby Fulton and Tommy Rogers. We
a good
turned
team.
them we turned them from wrestlers to fighters.
They had to fight for their lives against you guys, right?
Yeah, I still remember Bobby Fulton when in 1981 or 80 when I was working for Jerry Jarrett and that, and Bobby Fulton was on the start of the card. He just trimmed down from about 250 to 218, 220. He was all cut up. He was a changed man, and Bill Dundee, the booker, took him under his under his arm and led him through the way. He became a great worker, and then I went to book. I became the booker for Joe Blanchard and Southwest Championship Wrestling, and I gave Bobby Fulton his first main event. It was a not a ladder match. What do they call now when you have the plank between either side?
The what between either side?
Yeah, where they paint buildings and they put a board between two things so they can
Oh,
walk along.
a scaffold.
Yeah, my Bobby Fulton's first main event was a Scottsdale match for me in San Antonio or Southwest Championship Wrestling.
Man, how cool is that? And I think a lot of
Yeah,
fans
that was his
forget.
first ever main event, and I still remember the guy he worked against, Eric Emery, another guy from Kentucky.
Emery was a hell of a worker too.
Yeah, Eric. Yeah, Eric. Hey, I took a crew with me wherever I went to book, and Eric, I took with him. I took with me. Uh, took with me wherever I went.
All right, guys, it is time to take a quick break to talk about a subject that I know is near and dear in the hearts of all men everywhere. Of course, I'm talking about your penis. So we all know that guys enter the room dick first, and that's because our penis is one of our most important appendages, right? And it's really important that that little guy acts up when he's supposed to. I mean, we've all been there as guys, right? You're in the bedroom, your partner's ready, you're ready, but you look down there between your legs and your little guy's just down there staring at the carpet. That doesn't work for me, brother. That's why I turned to Blue Chew. Blue Chew isn't just a tablet, it's a cheat code for your crotch. Stronger, harder, longer lasting, like somebody gave your little partner down there an energy drink and he's just ready to go. I mean, don't take my word for it. Try it for yourself, pal. Blue Chew is going to get that thing so hard you could hammer a nail with it. You could hang a paint can off of it. You couldn't turn the head of it with a pipe wrench. There are a lot of ways to describe Blue Chew's wonderful effects, but more than anything, it's about giving you confidence. Confidence is key, and if you're not feeling it, you know that your partner is not going to be feeling it either, and then nobody has a good time. Take advantage of Blue Chew. It might just be giving you the best sex of your entire life, and you've been missing out on it up until this moment. Not anymore. We're hooking you up. And Blue Chew is about more than just performance, too. This is also about legacy. You know that your partner is in a group chat talking about how things went or didn't go in the bedroom. Give them something to talk about. Nothing makes you more of a legend than a little Blue Chew. Discover your options right now at bluechew.com. We've got a special deal for our listeners. As always, get your first month of Blue Chew free. Just use promo code DDPSNAKE at checkout and pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join Blue Chew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. Head to bluechew.com for details and safety info, and we want to give Blue Chew a big thanks for sponsoring the Snake Pit. Next up is well, actually, before we move on to that, I did want to ask, being in Bill Watts territory, a lot of people had issues with Bill Watts or didn't like Bill Watts. How was your relationship with Watts?
Well, we never had anything to do with him. Bill Watts was a man. There was a couple of guys, promoters like him. He would, if someone did something wrong in the ring, or had a bad match, as soon as they came back to the dressing room where all the boys is, he would just blast them right there, blast them. And that instead of, have, like I'd put them into the office and tell them what they'd do wrong. I wouldn't talk to them in front of the boys. You know what I mean? I explained to them what they did wrong to try to help them to improve. He just blasts them in front of people. And here's, for instance, Sting and the Ultimate Warrior. They were the Blade Runners before. Boy, they were terrible. And that Sting had more athleticism than the Warrior. Now, they were both big men. Sting was 270, big. The Warrior was about 280. And the Blade Runners. So every time big guys came into, Mid-South, Bill Watts would be doing commentary, and he would go and start doing commentary and put them over strong. He wouldn't be doing commentary unless someone come in where he knew he could work with. Then he would come on board as a promoter and put them over strong. And then he would do a ringside interview with them after a match. And then he would turn, they'd always be heels. You know what I mean? And he would say something because he was the Lone Star babyface. Well, not the Texas babyface, but the main babyface. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes.
And he would come back and put his boots on. Well, the Blade Runners went over, just crushing people, and you can do that without being a worker. You know what I mean? You go in the ring, just beat them out, cover them, and that bang. They're doing that, and then he got in the ring and that, and of course, his partner was the blonde-haired guy.
Murdoch?
Huh?
Murdoch?
No, the smaller guy. He's from Tennessee, and his dad was a wrestler in Tennessee too. He became a book in Puerto Rico and died there in the mid-80s.
Oh man, I'm trying to remember.
Great work. He worked in New York in the early 80s. He was really small.
Eddie Gilbert.
Eddie was a great worker, mate, a great worker. Heel or babyface. So Bill's got Eddie as his babyface partner who is going to sell for him to give him the hot tag. Well, they have the match. They beat up Eddie. They tag fucking Bill. Bill comes in. These guys don't know. They came in and Bill whacks them and has to go after them and whacks them. And it turned out shit. It turned out like shit. So we're back in the dressing room. When the Blade Runners come in, Bill Watts fucking says, "Don't you know how to fucking sell?" He says, when a babyface comes back, they stand in the middle of the ring and you feed them. because Bill has been around and he hasn't got the thing to move. So all the promoters like to be in the middle of the ring, standing sort of fired up, and you feed them.
Right.
Meaning by feed them, you come in, he nails you, you go down. As they go down, the next guy comes in, you feed him. The other guy comes up again, you clothesline him. The other guy comes up, you clothesline. You don't hardly move. You move maybe move 2 paces each time. Now you
Right.
understand what I mean by
Yes,
getting
sir.
fed? These guys didn't even know what feeding means.
Oh
And
no.
Butcher Me knew what that was. We'd worked with many promoters all over the world. Singapore, Japan, Bangkok, Australia. So we'd worked with a lot of them.
How
Anyhow,
did
you know how to feed. It's just the first thing. That was the old school. Feed, because you knew the promoter didn't like to move. You work as a heel, mate?
Yes, sir, I do.
Do you feed the baby face?
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, this weekend I'm wrestling the Powers of Pain, Barbarian and Warlord, and I'm just gonna be feeding them the whole time.
Yeah, and the comeback, yeah.
Yep.
There's two of his. One goes down, the next one's coming up. As soon as he gets knocked down, you're coming up. That's the way to get the people up off their feet for the comeback. Well,
That's it.
these two guys had no idea. Anyhow, after that, they're going to leave, and when they went to they're pissed off. They're leaving and that to go somewhere, and and Bill Watts got Eddie to chase Sting. Well, he wasn't Sting then, and to hold him back and for them to groom them, and they groomed him and they started grooming him, and that's when Bill Watts got caught effing around with Dark Journey, and I guess that's when he had to sell the territory. His wife wanted, to divorce, so they had to sell the territory, and that's when the Crockett's bought the territory, and it all became one in NWA.
I heard that rumor not too long ago about Bill Watts and Dark Journey. I'm glad you were able to confirm it here.
Yeah, so that was there. I was there then for that, and that was blah blah blah.
Well, next up we have got
By
Loco
the
Lad.
way, by the way, Butcher
Yeah.
Me walked out on Bill Watts.
You walked out on Bill Watts?
The only territory we walked out on. We were main event every night. We were doing barbed wire cage matches. Out of 5 days a week, we'd do 5 barbed wire cage matches, maybe two not, and that. We did that for 4 weeks.
You must have been all cut up.
Oh yeah, staph infection. Butch got a staph infection, and I think one of them did too. Because I remember cleaning the pus out, where it built up in Butch's cuts.
Yikes.
Yeah, every night you'd have to wash yourself with alcohol, all over, because the galvanized barbed wire, it stung. You know what I mean?
Oh. So you were all cut up and you're doing this for 4 weeks, so you decided to just walk out on Bill.
No, it was overpay. I was supposed, it's a long story, mate. I was supposed to take the book. I just come from being the book on Puerto Rico for Carlos Colon, and I was supposed to take the book. Bill Dundee was going back to Tennessee to work for Jerry Jarrett, where he was the booker before, and they were bringing me in to take the book. When they brought me in, they told me that they're keeping the old booker. Now, the old booker was Dickie Slater, who I knew well from Florida. But you don't keep when a new booker comes in, you usually get rid of the other booker because they can fuck around with you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Someone's taken their place and they don't like it. And I hated taking Dickie's spot, so I never took it. And that was the worst move I ever made because they brought in the booker from world class, Ken Montel,
Yep.
and he brought his own crew in, and his own crew were the Freebirds and a lot of other people. And they'd been in about 3 months working with us, but we were the main event. we have the, being foreigners with a flag, that gets more heat than anything else in the territory.
I'll
As
bet.
long as you can work and you're a foreigner pushing another country against the USA, that's super heat.
Oh
And we
yeah.
knew how to get super heat. We would get the state and we get them and call the state, yeah, get the American flag and go to push it down the toilet with the New Zealand flag and tell them this state is the Latvian of America and all that shit. We had our own little gimmick to get super heat in territories. Anyhow, funny part is I saw the paycheck, a paycheck lying on the dressing room for the Freebirds, and they were making more than us, and they were the match before intermission, and we were the last match every night. There's always two or three matches after intermission, and these were barbed wire cage matches. So I said we didn't just arrive that night, and then all of a sudden we get a phone call and ask us, offering us money in advance before the matches. And I said, well, why were you offering this before to us? And, that was heat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How did
Yeah.
he respond when you asked that?
No, yeah. No, no. I said, why were, and they said, oh, I said, no, we're not coming back. But we're not coming back. And that was it, mate. You know what I mean? That was it. We didn't come back.
Uh, was
And
that
then,
the
oh
last?
yeah, and then whenever something happened, and we were, and we did come back. I don't know how this happened. Oh, NWA had bought UWF, and we happened to be the champions, or some champions at the time. And all of a sudden, we were back with them. You know what I mean? Back, but it wasn't Universal UWF then. It was NWA.
Yep, because the Crockett's got him. It was JCP
Yeah,
or whatever.
and then of course we we. we We've been with Crockett's and given notice one other time in 1980, 81, and you never gave notice. But we gave them 3 months notice. We had the Mid-Atlantic tag belts, and we gave um, Jimmy Crockett notice in 1981, and we didn't know. He didn't give Jim Knocker. He gave you the note. He would tell you, I'll finish you up at Easter, or I'll finish you up at such and such a time, and I'll bring you back later. But we didn't know. You never gave him notice. We didn't realize we were on cable networks throughout the states. But we were doing 25 to 3,500 miles a week and making just under 2,000. And we got offered to work 3 days a week in Puerto Rico. One day, Sunday, you work two shows. You work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you make the same money.
Oh yeah.
And we're doing it. And we're doing 150 miles a week. So where would you go? You go in the sun and work 3 days a week.
Get to be on the beach and make the same money.
Yeah, so all of a sudden we're back at NWA because they had to bring us back because we had the belts. So that's how we got back there.
Man, such a
And
cool
then
story.
we did walk out. Well, we gave them notice because we went to New York in '88.
Got the big opportunity with Vince.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like the writing was on the wall with the Crockett's at that point too.
Yes, yeah, because that was when they were talking to Ted Worker, Ted Turner, and later that year that was the change. But anyhow, we with Bill Watts, we had done those barbed wire cage matches everywhere, and we're the last match every night, and the arenas were good. You know what I mean?
You
We've
had
been
some
we've been there for nearly a year, and we're still getting the arenas 3/4 to full every night.
You had some damn good timing. You got out of Watts' territory right before you sold, then you got out of the Crockett's before they sold. Pretty good.
Yeah, so that was it, mate.
The next question is from Survival Arc, who asks, "What was ECW like?" You
Of
remember that?
course I do. Short and sweet, mate. We finished with WWF. We get a call from one Dreamer, and he says, Paul wants to talk to you. You know, we can book you for 3 days. We're in Florida this weekend, and we're going to do 3 shows. One in Kissimmee and 2 down south of Florida. I think it was Fort Lauderdale and Miami or somewhere anyhow. And we want you to come in as the Dudleys from down under. We were wearing the glasses with a bit of sticking plaster in the middle. Anyhow, we come in and work as baby faces as the Dudleys from down under. And after we worked that weekend, of course, we were hot from WWE, so we got a big reaction.
Oh yeah.
You know, we just left WWE. And after that weekend, Paul said, I'd like you to come in and work for us full time. And I said, well, we're on the marquee for the next 3 months, but I'll cut out 2 months, but the next 1 month, these people are independents. I have to, because they've been using us. This was about 6 months after we left WWE, or 9 months. So we've been working for these promoters quite regularly. I said, I got to work for them for the next month, and then I'll cancel the other ones, and we'll go from there. We'll start for you in a month. He says, okay. So I'm home. Get home on Monday or Sunday from ECW. Second Thursday night they ring us. We need you tomorrow. And I says, I can't. We're on the thing. He says, we need you. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm obligated to these three more weeks. So they hung up on me. Monday, they called me again. And they said, you don't need us, so we don't need you.
What in the world?
That was it.
So even after you explain that you've got these other bookings, they
No,
weren't okay with it.
and they planned for us to turn against Bubba and Devon, which and the guy with the kendo stick,
Oh, Sandman.
Sandman. We were going to turn on them and go back to sheep herders, which we're looking forward to do. We loved being heels.
That would have been a lot of fun.
We didn't make many merchandise, but now I think the world had changed. Then people have started loving heels, and
Yep.
in the 90s, late 80s, the late 90s. I mean, heels became hate. They loved to hate them.
Yes, yes. And people were buying merch for the heels back in those days too.
Yes,
That was
that's
when
why I said to Butch, and we were looking forward because as heels, we could get the people to stand up, then we could get them to sit down. We knew, hey, we knew how to get them to stand up and sit down. It was we knew how to control the people.
man, it would have been a lot of fun to see the sheep herders in ECW against the
Yeah,
Dudley
they
boys.
were going to be the Dudleys from down under.
A cool little run. Are you like on good terms with Paul Heyman now?
Yes. And after Seeker's funeral, we talked and that, and you know, it was good.
All right, guys, we've got to take a break, and this time it's to talk about the perfect gene. Let me tell you guys, I love the perfect gene. They take the guesswork out of buying jeans because you know that you're getting quality every single time that you order from them. If you're like me, you're burning through jeans once every 6 months, maybe. You got to go shopping. And I know that the frustration was always there for me because it's like, If I'm not going to the same site and buying the same fitted jean, which of course there's only so many selections of, I'm not going to be satisfied with the jeans I get in the mail. They're going to come in and they're either going to be too short, they're going to be too loose in the waist, maybe the crotch is going to be a little bit too low, maybe it'll be a little bit too tight. Whatever the issue was, it was starting to piss me off. I couldn't find the right solution. And then Perfect Jean comes into the picture, right? They become a sponsor here on the podcast. They sent me some jeans to try. I'm like, hey, why not? Free jeans, let's do this thing. Well, guess what? I put on these jeans and I absolutely fell in love. I love the fit. I love the way that they look. And mostly, the biggest thing for me is comfort. I just want to be comfortable in my jeans. That's it. I don't like those stiff, scratchy, uncomfortable jeans. I need something that feels like you're walking around wearing a pair of sweatpants, basically, but they're jeans. That's exactly what I got here with the Perfect Jean. What's cool too is that these jeans are so high quality, you can kind of wear them for any occasion. You're going out on a date, put on the Perfect Jean. How about like a button-up shirt and some Perfect Jeans? You'll look great. By the way, I get tons of compliments on these jeans from male and female because like the quality is noticeable. They're really nice, high quality jeans. Or you can just wear them out to hang out with your buddies. You can go golfing with these jeans on. Like these jeans are kind of set for every single occasion, and the comfort is like unheard of for me whenever it comes to jeans. Like when you're wearing jeans most of the time, you're wearing jeans, not with the Perfect Jean. They're just so comfortable. And by the way, like think about it. What do you usually pay for a pair of jeans? $150, $200. I know that some of you guys are out there paying a lot more than that for some high quality jeans. Well, guess what? The Perfect Jean is a great value at just $79.99. That's it. You can't get jeans this high quality for that price. Period. End of story. Right now, I want to show you guys my latest pair of the Perfect Jean. I just got these ones in the mail not too long ago. This was a special order that I personally put in because I've just started buying these jeans. This is my jean brand now. And like you can just see the quality of these jeans even here on my podcast. You can take a look and know that these jeans are high quality. They're so comfortable. I've never worn a pair of jeans like this that makes me as happy as wearing these jeans do. I know that sounds silly, but like the older you get, the more you start to prioritize comfort, and that's where I'm at. Dude, these jeans check every single box. Comfort, quality, and style. You cannot do any better than the Perfect Jean. So it's time to get rid of those jeans that are crushing your nuts or look like you got a saggy diaper butt. Time to upgrade to your big boy pants. Let's do this thing. Life is too short for denim that fights you every step of the way, isn't it? And by the way, this isn't just me giving them an endorsement. Over 400,000, let me say that again. Over 400,000 old men, young men, big men, small men all agree. Over 30,000 men have rated their Perfect Jean 5 stars because you should never have to sacrifice comfort for style. And they're not just made for like skinny guys or guys that like look like supermodels or anything like that. Like they have a size range from 26 to 50-inch waist, lengths up to 38. They're going to give you 5,000 plus ways to find your perfect exact match at the Perfect Jean. Oh, and I should mention, they do more than just jeans. They've also got the den khaki, which are basically the holy grail of pants. They're stretchy, so you can bend and grow with these things. They're comfortable, so you'll forget you're even wearing a pair of work pants. And they're stylish. Even your boss is going to start rethinking his wardrobe. And if you pair them with the Perfect Jean polos, you've got a head-to-toe look that nails professionalism without sacrificing the comfort. Or how about their ultra soft organic cotton tees that have the perfect amount of stretch to provide the perfect fit? For a limited time, our listeners get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectjean.nyc or Google The Perfect Jean and use our code SNAKE15 for 15% off. Again, that's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc with our promo code SNAKE15. After you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please do us a big favor. Let them know that it's us that sent you over there. That's going to help us out, and it's going to help you out. That 15% off with our code SNAKE15. Fuck your khakis. Get out there. Go get the Perfect Jean. You guys are going to love them just like I do. Next up, we've got Kevin Holace, I think is how you pronounce it.
Kevin Coley's.
Something like that. He asks, any memories of Ric Flair? What are your best Ric Flair memories?
Rick still has me on about having a party. I was working for NWA in 1980. You know, I'd come into North America and that, and I worked across Canada in the 70s, and in the late 70s, I was living in Hawaii, working in Hawaii Then I came into Don Owens territory, Northwest Championships of Wrestling, did a year and a half, and came straight down to Crockett's. That's when they just finished the Big Angle in the late 70s, where Blackjack had turned babyface against Ric Flair, and Rick became a heel. He still hadn't won the belt yet, and and it was wild. Anyhow, we're at a party at his home one night, and his wife wasn't there; she was away. But I never went to the bedroom. But someone had put a pair of woman's panties under the pillow, her pillow in their bedroom. They didn't know what pillow was, but it was her pillow. And
Oh
he
no.
always accused me to this day of putting those panties under her pillow when she got home. He had to explain that.
So it wasn't you, just for
I
the
didn't know
record.
whether they were used panties or not. That I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That's still. And no, I've known Rick since then. We flew down to New Zealand together on a card when he worked with High Chief Peter Maivia, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson's grandfather.
Yeah.
And I worked against The Rock's father on that same card. Me and Bush flew down for that, and we worked against one card. We worked against Ric Flair and Rick Martel. No,
Wow.
we worked against Rick Martel and Rocky Johnson.
That's a good
Rocky
pair.
was living. Rocky was living in New Zealand then. He was there for 6 months, and The Rock was only 7 years old then.
So you were around The Rock when he was very young, huh?
Yeah, because Peter had a home in New Zealand. I worked against Peter in the 60s in New Zealand and in Australia for Jim Barnett in Australia, and of course for Steve Rickard. Steve Rickard trained, trained Peter Maivia in the early 60s, in 61,
Wow.
62. That's the year that I trained, but I was with another company. I was with Al Hobben then.
You've got an awful lot of history all across the world. So many different
Yeah.
promotions too.
Working with Peter there. I got a few stories with Peter too. When his
Yeah.
wife arrived without knowing, Peter was a playboy, a good-looking guy, charisma running out of his ass. He has super charisma in the ring. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And that's back in the 60s, mate.
So Peter did pretty okay with the ladies over there in New Zealand.
Everywhere in the world. His wife used to arrive unexpected. He thought she was in San Francisco, and she used to arrive in Australia and New Zealand just to make sure he was on the straight and narrow.
And then she became a promoter after he passed.
Yeah. Well, by then she had Peter under her thumb. And the thumb, the Rolling Stones song, Under the Thumb.
That's one of my favorite Rolling Stones songs. Love that one.
Yeah. Why? Has your wife got you that way?
Absolutely. Especially now that I'm wrestling her on the road, she's got to keep an eye on me.
Yeah. Under the thumb.
Predator J.
That's what, hey, mate, by the way,
Yes.
that was one of my favorite rock and roll groups ever, and I went and saw them last year in the Shea Stadium. Or no, they were in Meadowlands. I went and saw them in Meadowlands. Flew up there to see them. Had great seats too.
And they're still pretty good, huh?
Oh, he wasn't running across the stage like he did in the 80s and 90s, but he didn't stop moving. He never stood still on that stage.
He's still getting around. I think he just had a kid not that long ago too, so he's still
Yeah.
acting like he's in his 20s.
Hey, he's just muscle over bones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Paper thin.
Yeah.
Predator J has got a great question, and there's a picture that goes with it. He said, "There's a great picture of you, Ted DiBiase, and DDP at a bar. Any memory of partying
Oh,
with those
yes.
two?" Here's the photo. I
DDP
pulled it
wasn't
up.
in the business. I love that picture. Hey, I just spoke to him yesterday. You know, he's been in hospital. He just
Yes.
had a heart ablation where your heart's out of the rhythm, and they shock you to get it running in rhythm.
Yep.
Yeah, he's that. I just had that, but that's the problem I had too. Funny, isn't it? But
It
he's
is.
young. DDP, DDP has been a good friend of mine since in the 80s. And that I send him down New Zealand in nightclubs. He owned nightclubs and he managed them. And he always knew how to get people in the doors. He was a great promoter. And I sent him down New Zealand twice to work in my part. I had a nightclub down there in the 70s with my partner, and he had another club, and that's where DDP went down and worked. Stayed down there for 3 months each time to promote it, to get the people,
How
get the
about
place
that?
alive.
That's amazing. And this picture of you guys is great. I'd imagine that you guys are doing an awful lot of
Oh,
partying down there
we
at
had
his
a
bar.
great time that night. If I can tell you too, a woman laying over the bar putting shots in their belly bone, drinking the shots. Hey, I shouldn't say this because Ted got. I was with Ted when he got the call in England and changed his life. We were, we were in Stringfellas in a nightclub that was like Studio 54. This was in London, and all, and it was about 3:30, and we decided to go back to the hotel. In I'm trying to think of in the wealthy part of London, and that I'm just trying to think of what hotel it was, well-known hotel in here over there. Anyhow, we got in the lobby and asked for messages, and there was a message from his wife. This was 3:30 in the morning. He picked the phone up, and his wife told him about his life in the United States. She heard of it. She found about his life with air hostess flying around the country with him.
Oh no.
Like I went up to my room. He went up to his room at 3 in the morning, packed, and went straight to Heathrow. Straight to Heathrow Airport. And that's when he came back, became a born again Christian, and changed his life completely.
Turned his whole life around. Pretty incredible.
Yeah, he did. Changed. God bless him. Changed his whole life around.
That's
And
love too.
saved his marriage.
Yes, and his wife, talk about strength with her, fighting through that and believing in him again like that. Pretty amazing.
Yeah. So I've been friends with Ted, from the 80s. We were all in Mid South together. What a crew we had. I'll tell you who was there: Hacksaw,
Yep.
Jake, Ted, myself. Yeah, we had a hell of a crew there, mate.
That's, that's
And the straight guy too. He didn't do anything else except beer, and that was the guy that mentioned you before, Captain Redneck,
yeah, Dick Murdoch.
Dick Murdoch. He would drink a 6-pack going to the arena, but he would work in that ring. Dick was incredible worker. He could make you he could make you laugh in the ring, and he would have a straight face. And he could turn the match into a brilliant match, or he could. He knew how to do it. And I had worked against Dick and Manny Fernandez every night for months and months in Southwest Championship Wrestling when I was the booker for Joe Blanchard. So I've been around Dickie a lot, in the ring a lot,
I've heard
every
he's
night.
I've heard he was quite a character, and a lot of people say that if he could have kept his shit together, that he could have been the NWA World Champion, but he was
Yes,
just too unpredictable.
yes. That guy had buggy whip arms. He was strong as hell, mate. You know what I mean? You look at
Yeah,
his body. He had the drum, but he was tall and he was strong. And that fucking arm could throw a punch, knock people out.
I've heard that him and Dick Slater had a dust up with the Blade Runners, the Ultimate Warrior and Sting, and got the better of
Yeah,
them.
that was in. I was there.
You were?
That was in. That was in Bill Watts' territory.
So what happened?
That's after the boys had all gone up to North, and we were still there. You know, that's when after Jake, Hacksaw, and
Teddy.
Ted had gone up north, and we were still there.
And so
That's
yeah,
when they had that little little blow off, and that's when too Dickie put the sting heads down the toilet. I was there. Dickie was blocking the room so no one could get in there to stop it.
you know, you look at Sting and you look at Dick Slater, you'd think that Sting would get the better of him, but Dick Slater is a tough motherfucker, wasn't he?
No, fucking Sting is nowhere near Dickie Slater. He, he was like Dick Murdoch, mate.
Nobody to piss with.
Dickie just could take you down and tie you up in seconds.
Nobody
You
to
know,
screw around
wrestling
with.
wise, and you do stuff where Dick Murdoch he was a one punch man. What a couple, huh?
What a group of guys they had there in Mid
Yeah,
South.
those two guys were great guys. Hey, they were great guys. God bless them. God bless them.
Yes, sir. Another two
A lot
great
of
men.
fun. I had Butch and me had so much fun with Dick Murdoch.
I've heard that he was quite the partier and could hang in there drinking with just about anybody.
Yeah, yeah, he could drink. Dickie could drink. Him and Andre drinking together, they were a good team.
It shut down a damn bar.
Yeah.
We're gonna do one more, and then we're gonna wrap this one up. We've got a ton of questions left, but that's all right. We'll save them for next time. If you have questions for Luke, make sure that you're following him on social media. Right under his name there, you can see at Bushwhacker Luke. That's how you
And it's
follow him
got
on X.
and my social media has got my head on the world.
Yep.
There's a lot of fake ones out there of me, but the world with my head on it. That's Twitter, well X, Facebook, and Instagram.
Yep.
Be looking
And
forward to see you join me.
give him a follow right now. He's at Bushwhacker Luke on Instagram and on X, and you can find him really easily on Facebook by typing in Bushwhacker Luke. And like he said, it's like yellow, and you can see the planet behind him and his head. You can't mistake it. So get on there and get him a follow, and drop your questions there if you've got questions for him for the next
Yes,
episode. Michael asked, Razor Ramon was my favorite wrestler. Did you get to spend much time around Scott Hall?
yes, yeah. I was in WWF all the time, and I saw him. And I've been on tours overseas with Scott when he was away from the clique and that.
Was he a good man?
As soon as he arrived at an airport, he'd go to the bar when he arrived there, and I'd go out to the curbside, even if we're in another country, get picked up, and he'd tell them to come back in an hour and pick me up. Razor was there was only one guy like him.
He was a partier, but boy, he could go.
Yes, and I've got to say too, Sean helped him a lot, and he became a good worker through the help of Sean. And I'm talking about Shawn Michaels. And I
Yes,
still
sir.
remember working with Shawn Michaels in '84. I'd been in the Booker in Texas, and I'd left, and they bought us house, put me into work with Sean and his partner. At that time, '83 or '84, and we both said, this kid is going to become a great worker. And of course, look what happened to him.
Huge star, and everybody says that he's maybe the best in-ring worker of all time. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and we only worked with him once, but we could feel he was a kid then
Hmm.
in the teens. You know what I mean?
He just had it.
He had it. He had the timing, and he had everything.
Well, we've got it right here on the show. Thank you again for your time. By the way, folks, right above me on this side is a QR code for Cameo. Go ahead and order a Cameo from Luke for a personal message, like a birthday message or anything. If you want to quit your job, if you just want to say hi to him, Bushwhacker Luke will hook you up, right, Luke?
Yes, and if you've got anyone, and you're an owner, and you want me to you don't want to take the heat for firing, I'll fire them for you. I'll send
Imagine
them down under.
Imagine Bushwhacker Luke firing somebody for you. That'd be incredible. And then over there above his head is a QR code for Pro Wrestling Tees, where they've got some great T-shirts for Luke. Go ahead and get over there, get yourself a Luke T-shirt. Make sure you're following him on social media, like I said, so you can see where he's going to be next. And join us here next time on the podcast, right, my friend?
Okay, mate, it's great to be on your podcast, Marcus. And folks, don't forget, get bushwhacked. Whoa!